For Manchester City, finishing 13 points behind champions Liverpool and losing in the final of the FA Cup to Crystal Palace. Luis Garcia caught up with Pep Guardiola to discuss whether adjustments to his style are needed.
You've been a pioneer in a style of football that I think that may fall in love to a lot of people, me included. And after this season, do you think that it needs that kind of style, a little bit of a judgment, or it was more execution?
Well, it's always a good question. Always we want to copy-paste the last winner, right? But the last winner is the last winner. It's not the previous one, or maybe they're not the next one. Listen, in that that period that I started being a manager, I adjust many things year by year. I'm not the same manager training in the way I trained the first season, and play the same way, and because there are incredible different aspects that are involved, especially the quality of the players that you have in your disposal in 1 year is completely different. And you train a player being single, and after we get married and after have a kid is completely different. And I'm not the same when I was 22 and now I'm 54 or 24 or 28. Of course you adjust, you're going to adjust, but not adjust for the fact that we lose. Because that will be poor. It's like you win, I don't have to adjust anything. It's a mistake. When you win, you have things, because how are you going to realize on that? Day by day, game by game, week by week. The players, how we arrive the holidays, how we arrive there in September. It may be different in February. So, of course, we are going to adjust something, but not for the fact that we just won the Community Shield. So it's not going to happen.
So regardless of what he's going to adjust for, is it right that this side does need to adjust their style under Pep Guardiola?
Well, look, he can keep whatever style he wants to, and whatever he feels most comfortable with, and whatever he thinks his truth is. But it is the job of a manager, any manager at any level in the world, that when his team is on a free fall, and Manchester City were on a free fall, that there needed to be something different to stop the free fall. And then once you catch some momentum, once you start going in the positive direction, then once again you can go back to your principles and the things that make you a successful team. But this team, they needed a tourniquet. They needed to pump the brakes. This team was bleeding out, and Pep Guardiola was saying, nah, we're going to continue to do the same thing with the same group of players. And yeah, Mateus Nunes is going to play right back. What? Who's playing right back? Yeah, Nunes, out there. And he kept putting him out there. And those are decisions that the managers make. But it felt to me, I don't know about anybody else, but it felt to me that once you go on the free fall and it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games, that it became far more about stubbornness. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to do it my way. I'm not going to listen to anybody. This is the way we do things, regardless. It felt like stubbornness.
I'm 100% with Ali in that matter, because really, I know that Guardiola has been one of the most successful and smartest coach in the world for nowadays. But I found that there was a lack of reaction in that matter, where I was waiting for something special from him to make the result change, and it never happened. He was stubborn. We have to say he was stubborn in that matter, and it's why I was kind of critical towards him, where I always been the first one to say that he was the best coach in the world. But he didn't show us that he had another option. I would love to have that discussion with him to show me why he thinks he didn't have any other option, and why he had to stick to the way he was thinking, where, as you said, he was losing and losing and losing. I didn't get. So we're going to see next season if there is another way of winning.
Jan, has his style been overtaken by a more direct approach in the Premier League and in the Champions League?
I think it's a very interesting discussion, but I think we have to have some fact first that Pep also said in this interview. Because we have always said that he's played the Pep football since he started. The way he played when he was at Barcelona, when he played Bayern, he changed it a bit. Then he played with wingers. He had to adjust to Lewandowski. Then he came to City, he played his way. Then he wanted Kane, didn't get Kane. Then he get Erling Haaland. So he has been adjusted throughout. But for all big coaches, even for Pep Guardiola, now there are new kids on the block. We're talking about Cesc Fabregas. He's been 1 year at Coma, and now maybe he go to Inter. Arne Slot came from Holland. Nobody knew really what he stood for, winning the Premier League. In England, Eddie Howe win the League Cup. Crystal Palace win the League Cup. Things are changing around us, and you have to adjust. That was what Sir Alex Ferguson always managed to do. That was what Wenger managed to do for 2/3 of his period at Arsenal. I think I take it down. I understand what the boys in the studio are saying, but I think that we are going into the land of cliches as well, because I think that with Manchester City this season, there was more a matter of bad recruitment. I think that they took on wrong players. You have two wingers that haven't crossed the balls for 2 years. I mean, that is nothing to do with Pep's way of playing. Yes, I take Al's point that maybe in there, I don't think that was stubbornness. I think, and I follow, I'm not saying that because I've seen a lot of the Manchester City live this season, but I think there were times this season that Pep Guardiola started doubting himself. Because he is a human being. Yes, he's a super coach, one of the best ever, but he started doubting what to do. He saw that the players he took on weren't good enough. So he had to make changes. They didn't work out in so many games. And even at the beginning of the season, when everybody said they were so good, there were some lucky results in there. And so I think that the analysis of the downfall of Manchester City this season started with a bad preseason, bad recruitment. And at the end of the day, if you see the last 10, 12 games, I think Manchester City maybe had the most wins in the Premier League. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay. Last thought goes with you then, Jurgen, on Pep Guardiola and the changes that we may see to his style next season.
Well, I think in general, I mean, it's a wonderful discussion to have. I think a manager always trying to adjust himself to the player material that he has at his disposal. And so you're trying to make the best out of every single player in order to kind of put the puzzle together to make the best team possible there. Obviously, a personality like Pep Guardiola has his own ideas, his own brand, his own way of doing things, and he's trying to kind of meld that together. And obviously it went so well over so many years that there's a year or two here and there that things don't go perfectly. And maybe your players go through difficult times individually, personally, and you have to make adjustments. And I think he's always been a coach that is able to make an adjustment. But then there are coming also moments, periods where Alejandro also said, you know, where you feel from the outside, there's a little bit of stubbornness, it has to be this way now, the other way doesn't work. But I think managers live throughout their careers by making adjustments because this player generation constantly changes. There's so much going on in the lives of the players today, much more than 20, 30 years ago. So you have to be always open-minded. You have to be always alert of how players basically live their lives and how they perform in the way they perform best for the team, and then you have to constantly work on this bigger puzzle to hopefully make it all work. But the work of a manager nowadays is so it's so complete, it's so complex. That you cannot compare it anymore with the work of coaches 20 or 30 years ago.
Okay, have you mentioned, just to finish, that Ian, when he named some new coaches, coming out, didn't mention Enzo Maresca winning the Conference League and finishing fourth with Chelsea.
All right. Okay.
That's just what I want to say.
Did you just feel like you had to participate and that's what you came up with? Maresca and Chelsea?
Just to finish the
segment. You
segment.
didn't have to say anything. We could have just moved on.
You know what? We're just going to say goodbye to Jurgen. Thank you for bringing your cards to the panel.
Jurgen, we say goodbye.
And you do deserve a beer.
Yeah, have a beer. Have two. Two beers.
We love you, Jurgen. We love you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jurgen. We'll speak to you soon. Oh. Yes, make sure to keep up to date with us every single day on ESPN FC and to keep up to date with what happens in the game between Spain and France tomorrow. And of course, more of that interview from Pep Guardiola with Luis Garcia will be dropping, so be sure to check it out.